Hello and welcome. I'm really happy to have Teeroumanee with us for this collective shift interview. And today I would like to explore one topic. I will say what happens when different cultures learn together and learn more about Teeroumanee's experience from her perspective. But before we, let's say, dive into the discussion, let me briefly introduce you to those who may not know you yet. So, on short, Teeroumanee is a strategic advisor. She's an executive coach, and also she's a mentor within the Collective Shift Academy. So, welcome, Teeroumanee.
Hi, Andrea. Thank you for the warm welcome. So yeah, you've sum up what I at the moment. And yeah, if I may add, so I'm originally from Mauritius. I've lived
No,
in the UK for like about 20 years, also partly in Europe. So I did some time in Spain, in Greece, spent some time in Bulgaria as well, and then Belgium a bit. So that's been my experience, my international experience. I forgot, I did quite some time in India as well. That was my very first trip, actually, my first time out. Yeah.
That's really nice because I believe that our conversation will enrich people because you have a broad international experience. And I was wondering now, maybe if you can tell us a few things about your professional experience. What
Mm.
what has your professional journey looked like? If you have some highlights that you would like to share with us.
Yeah, so I actually started as a software engineer into IT, and
Okay.
I was an international company in Infosys. That's when I went to India and all, and then I worked in Mauritius, and then I got a scholarship. I went to UK. I did my master's there. I did my PhD there. And even during my PhD, I was quite active, creating network, doing this and that, empowerment, women empowerment, and all these things. And I did spend about 20 years then in higher education, so in universities, hopping from one university to the other. And I had various roles actually in university. So I did a bit of teaching. There was a lot of project management as well, a lot of first time initiatives, like for example, for DI and BAME recruitment at one particular university, they didn't have such a support before. So I was part of panel of committees. I spent a fair amount of time on various committees. And I am very lucky that even for my PhD, I did cross-disciplinary research. So my studies was into AR and VR, so augmented reality and virtual reality. And it was cross-disciplinary with sciences and also education. So I work very closely with people in biology, in chemistry, and in pharmacy. So, and I did even work for a pharmaceutical company shortly there in UK. And yeah, and after I would say I did a few career pivot in um in my career, a few yeah, a few times I've changed. And then the most recent is actually into coaching. So I've been doing mentoring for quite a while, 20 years actually, because of my experience in higher education and also my international experience. And so coaching kind of just came up automatically and organically, I would say, for me. And that's what I am doing at the moment, focusing on
Mm.
along with strategic advisor. That's my main role, actually.
So even if I know Terumane for a while, I found out new things about your professional experience. I didn't know that you started in software teaching, then PhD, and any and any any other things that you did. So it was quite nice to hear also these things. And I was wondering now if you reflect maybe on your experience, because you said you started with software, now you transition to coaching. I know that you do coaching, and we will talk about this a few minutes later. I was thinking, what do you feel that has been maybe the most challenging part of your career journey?
Mm. Yeah, there have been a few challenges. So being a non-British in UK also posed a lot of challenges, intercultural challenges, the way of working, the way of understanding, for example, what ethics, professionalism is. So one thing that I was quite lucky, so when I became a software engineer, we were working with a lot of Europeans. And in Mauritius, it's a it's a big pot of people from different cultures, Africa, Asia, China, Europe. So there's quite an understanding of this, thin fabric of acceptance and tolerance. So I already had an understanding of that. But while working, one thing that I realized was, yeah, there were people who, they will say things, but then they'll do the contrary. So professional values were not always aligning even with the policies of the organization or the values and mission of the organization. And that for me is actually a non-negotiable for me. Some of things like, showing up and having being a professional, acting so in at the moment you step at work, you've got to, really leverage that professionalism and the environment. And even leadership behaviors, things, there were cases of bullying. And I recall me talking about duty of care for students. And then I was like, oh, it's the students who got to. So there was always, I observed a lot of running away from responsibility, running away from good governance, running away from um, duty of care towards students and towards other staff. There was this disconnect almost where, professional standards varied, obviously, it would vary from person to person, but then there should be some common ground and even, organizational values and mission, right? So there were issues I noticed about confidentiality, how people are handling confidentiality, GDPR, just normal office etiquette, team etiquette, organizational, just basic etiquettes for a society. And there was lots of resistance even when I was very vocal. Actually, I didn't start off being vocal. 20 years back, I was this, hey, I'm fitting into UK. And then when I started to do my PhD, I was vocal because I created the first women in academia in my university. So as a student, I created a space for staff. Well, female academics to have a space of discussion. They were talking about maternity, all this. These were not topics that I was working on at that time. They were talking of all sorts of things. But I started to be active and create those spaces. And later, yeah, I was vocal as well. And whenever I would see something, I would say it. And
Mm,
that did not always go well. There
I
was
know.
repercussions. And one other challenge that I also had, so I did work a lot with around DEI. So I spent a fair amount of time working around disability, working around women empowerment, working around anti-racism and all. So one thing that I observed was it's so easy, I think, to just put the burden and the responsibility on others. Oh, it's others. Others should have been this. And at some point in time, I was like, look, there's discrimination, but how are we sorting this out? How are we taking responsibility for that? Because we cannot change other people.
Mhm. That's true.
This is just so. This was something that I also realized that, yeah, through that, I realized that many people were not coachable because they were not willing to see beyond. And there was always this externalization of responsibility and remaining fixed on perspectives and this is, this category, this label, rather than engaging in deeper learning and growth. And I think that was the catalyst for me, the drop that overflowed it for me. Because I was already feeling hey, I'm not comfortable with that because there's growth. I'm responsible for my growth. So those were a bit of the challenges I had myself and in my role working with other people across the sectors.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking now because you mentioned the challenges. You also said that you founded this women academy. So how what helped you maybe to overcome these challenges?
What I think an awareness of my own values, and a conscious decision. It was not always a very easy decision. I struggled a lot, especially in the early years in the UK. It's a different culture to mine, okay? And Mauritius is a very African and Asian culture,
Mm-hmm.
so it was very different to mine. So making a conscious decision, I'm more and more making conscious decisions now where, I have clear boundaries. I know clearly what my values are. Obviously, it's something that keeps growing. But yeah, it was me staying anchored in my values and choosing not to compromise on them, even when it was difficult. So I was bullied. I was bullied because I was voicing out concerns. I had staff crying, I had, students crying, and I was raising concerns. I was the most vocal in the department. So I think choosing not to compromise was a conscious decision that I made because I was clear on my values, what values I was not negotiating. Professionalism, confidentiality, duty of care, support, things like this, right? And one thing that helped also was self-care. And not just, the fluffy self-care. Oh, let's just go for a walk, but not the superficial one, but really choosing environment that I could avoid the drama so that I could recuperate, so that I could be there and fully and replenish my energy. So that really helped me. Choosing environment where there was maturity, respect, and an adult to adult way of dealing with things. And yeah, creating boundaries was something that really worked for me to overcome those challenges, creating strong boundaries. Even now, like in my emails, I do have like a little note about any emails that come to me after 11 a.m. on Friday. Well, you may get a response of the next week because Friday afternoon is for me. It's for me to plan ahead for the week. It's not
Mm-hmm.
an easy boundary to set, especially if you're working with other people who, at some point in time, I had teammates and supervisors who are always like just using urgent in every email subject on the top, urgent, even for non-urgent thing. And it was not possible for me at that time to create those boundaries because the environment did not allow me to create boundaries because it came as a result there was bullying. So then I realized that the more I was creating those strong boundaries, the more I was getting people to respect my values as well and how I do work and how I show up, which was accepting me. That's how I interpreted it. There's so much of this word acceptance, especially in the UK, but it's not necessarily always understood.
Mm-hmm.
So people want it to be a prescribed way of, for example, a director of department or CEO. It's their way. That's the that's the way of doing it. So I also learned about the importance of being around people who hold reflective spaces and developmental conversation. That was one thing that I did to overcome those challenges. And obviously, as a coach, supervision helps. Speaking with other mentors, like in the academy, that helps. And improving on my leadership approach all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Being being a better leader, being able to have a treating others. One simple thing that I changed massively was treating other people as an adult. Don't come crying. You're crying for what? Tell me what you need, right? So these were things that worked for me in those, about 25 years of career, roughly. Not always easy. First time. But yeah.
So if I have to sum it up, I think, or how I heard the things, those things that support you to overcome the challenges were actually your values that are
Yes.
non-negotiable. So this supported you. You brought into conversation at the end the mentoring part and also the academy and the leadership. So I'm curious, how did you first discover collective shift?
Aha. I think I'll turn it around. I was discovered by collective shift. So
Ah,
when I joined Global, I was approached by someone to join Mosaic. I joined Mosaic because I really love, as a mentor, I love mentoring programs. And it was something that I miss in my career because I was mentoring other people. I was peer mentoring, reverse mentoring, everything, but it was so difficult to get somebody to mentor me because I was always on the top of the game. And I was a good student in that. I was always prepared. So I always was looking for a mentor that, could match me. It was difficult to find one. And so when I joined the Mosaic program, and there was a group supervision, and that's when I met Oana. So we had a small breakout room, and one thing that we discussed during that time was actually showing up. And it's very interesting because I think Oana and I, we both have this common appreciation around this value, this that we have this common value, which is showing up, and that appreciation for that opportunity is always there. You've got to show up, and not just showing up like this, but showing up in a meaningful way, showing up and commit and fully engage in it. And yeah, presence matters, I think, and contribution should not just be passive. And even I wrote my first article that I contributed for the academy was around that, was about showing up. And I've written around showing up for many, for in various platforms now. So that's how I was then discovered. That's how I said, because then no one approached me. And I knew, I think we clicked on that common value a bit as well. And at that time, I was also, I remember I mentioned something about team coaching that I wanted to do team coaching. And actually, I'm very happy that I've done group coaching because a
okay.
team is not always a team, right? It's the group, most of the time, it's a group of people just happening to work together. So, yeah, that's how I was discovered by collective shift.
Okay. Okay, it was quite nice to hear that it was the other way around because most of the time we hear about, I don't know, maybe a specific program, and if we are interested in that program, we say, okay, let's find out more about this. And this is how it was for with me because I knew Anna from a different experience that I had with her in the past. And yeah, I was always interested in working with groups. And I said, okay, let's find out more on how to work in a framework, having a framework in a structured way, and to understand better what actually group coaching is. So, yeah. We have different backgrounds and different experiences, and this is really, really nice. What did you enjoy most? If you look on your entire experience, maybe with collective shift, what did you enjoy most about the collective shift?
Yeah, that was actually a very, very interesting experience that I had. So first two modules, I was still wearing the shoe. I was still testing the waters. It was like, what is this? What am I hearing? And I recall the first module, there was just a few slides, and we were just talking and talking. The first day of the first module, I was like, how could that happen? I mean, I come from an IT STEM background, right? It's always quick, quick, quick. And there I was just for a whole day, 7 to 8 hours, talking about two slides.
And
So that
stay.
was, and I've been on so many courses before. That one was different. Okay, it was a different energy, it was a different thing. But I continued to show up because for me it's important. I committed, right? So for me, I already committed. I would not show up if I'm not committing. So in fact, I committed and I did all the homework and I was creating homework for myself as well. Whenever like Owana would ask me a reflective question, so what would challenge me, I would write that down. I would go and do and do a little homework by the side. But what I really liked was this combination of structured learning and personal reflection, the way that the program itself was structured. This was something I miss myself in coaching school because my coaching school was very theoretical. That's it. I miss that mandatory part of reflection that was embedded within the syllabus. It was not like, yeah, obviously there was personal reflection that we could do outside after the module, but it was also embedded, heavily embedded in the program. And I felt that I myself as a person, I grew more. It was not about learning theories or what about group coaching, no. And I really enjoyed that. I really, really enjoyed the way that it was the structure was presented to me, and it allowed me to grow in a different way, not to how I used to. And it had a huge impact on me, actually, this program. And oh, I really love the mentorship. You'll probably pick that. So you yourself, you were my mentor, and Diana was my mentor, Diana Studies. So I actually wrote an article, my recent article on the for the Academies of Mentorship, how I chose my mentor. And I recall when I said, so there were these 3 hours, and she said, oh, you can pick anyone, or you can pick all 3 hours with me. And I was very specific. I'm like, I'm already having you. I want to know the other people. And I was strategic on who I was choosing. And I said it. I chose you because you showed up and I learned from you. So showing up, right? That was a common value. And I chose Joanna as well because she was going to create her first. She and Corina were going to create their first program. So I wanted to be part of that journey to capture the experience when it was fresh. But really, I really enjoyed the mentorship element of the program, and I'm still in touch with the mentors, right? So that was something that it was like the cherry on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's embedded in the program really makes I'm a good student. I tend to be a good student when I'm in a program. So I really like whatever I was told to do, I was like, hey, I'm doing that, I'm doing that. And it really, I think by module 5 and 6, I really started to see the difference. And it was a huge difference.
The
And
difference
within that,
between the difference between
me, when I started the
okay,
program,
okay,
when I was in module 5, because it was not about theory, it was practical.
practical.
It was all about practical. It was personal growth mostly. And one of the things that I really appreciate within the academy, not just when I was having the course, but even
Mm-hmm.
now, it's the openness and ability to be, hey, this is what I feel. This is a no for me and this is a yes for me. So being treated as an adult, let's put it like that, because it's so easy, in the game of me being a new coach. I've been a mentor before for 2 decades, but being a fairly new coach, just a few years, I could have easily just said, oh, I will, we call this in back home, in Mauritius, we say lick the boot, right? No, it was like, I'm not doing that. And it was okay for me not to do it. And then I wanted to do something. It was okay for me to do that. So there's this trust that I can do it, I can deliver, or I will do it, or I will commit. And this honesty, hey, I'm not comfortable with that. I really, really enjoy that. And, while talking to you now, I just remembered something. Module 1 and 2 was really like this. How am I getting into this? What is this? What is this whole thing, right? I was still confused between workshop. Was that a facilitation? What am I learning? Because there's the bonding stage is a bit common, right, with facilitation. And by module 3, I was actually thinking, when I was challenging me a lot, and by module 3, I was thinking, why is Anna challenging me so much. Why is she picking on me? And I was just comparing. I was like, why was she picking on me? Actually, she was not picking on me. She was just taking me through the journey. But that was my perspective of like, why am I being made uncomfortable? Because yeah, the automatic behavior is to go with comfort. And I'm grateful for that. And one that still challenges me all the time because she knows where my limit is and what my potential
Mm.
is. It's a bit like this professional vision that we're working in mentorship, right? Keeps changing, and I appreciate that challenge. Even in chats with the mentors, it's no fluffing around. It's no like, hey, yeah, let's stay in the comfort zone. No, so I think a few people now know me that, yeah, I want to be challenged. Give me the question to make me think and be speechless. That's the best part, being speechless. Because I talk a lot. So, yeah, upon reflection, there's been so many good things. And I almost had like the exam itself. I knew it was coming to an end. I was not that sad. That's what I said to everyone on the day. I was not sad because I know, everybody will be around. But then a week after, I had almost like a withdrawal syndrome. I was missing. I was like, when is the next one? But there was no next one. Because it's almost like I was thirsty for that connection
Mm.
and the growth and the space because the space was really nurturing in a good way. So while being a learner, it was nurturing in a different way, and while being a mentor, it's nurturing in a different way. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what we enjoyed the most maybe is the mentoring part, because during the program we have these 3 hours that you mentioned, and also because the journey does not stop after after we finish collective shift. So it continues. So it's an ongoing journey. Also, you mentioned many other things besides the mentoring part. Also, you know, I will say your leadership journey during this, because it was about yourself, as you mentioned. So I didn't know how to deal with or how to react for the first two modules, because you were familiar with, for someone as a facilitator to come, or the trainer to come and, open the slides and talk based on the slides and so on. So it was completely different. And that's true. There is a lot of practical. We practice a lot in collective shifts. So we have the theory, and I think most of the participants are saying that 80% of the course of the program is practice. So it's a practical one. Looking on how you experience this, because I'm pretty sure that you learned a lot of things during this program. And I know that you were in an international group with people
Mhm.
from, of course, Romania, from Greece, Poland, many other countries. And yeah, I was wondering if there were some challenges also during this, if you learned something from different culture. I also experienced in my coaching journey this international context and working with people and learning together, because it was a learning process. So how it was actually for you to learn in this international environment?
Yeah, so it was very interesting perspective when I was learning and now being mentor. So there's a difference. I'll tell you what
Okay.
happened to me.
Okay,
So when I was
let's hear.
so when I was a learner, I really it was interesting because my English is way fluent, obviously way fluent now than than it was before when I went to UK. But having people who were slower in speaking English, because the journey was not theoretical, it was practical, right? So it was myself, I was reflecting a lot. Everything that people were saying, I was trying to put dots together in my mind. My neurons were constantly working and pretty
Okay.
fast. I had like my head was actually heating up a lot, and I was drinking lots of water. And people being slower in their English fluency really helped me formulate my thoughts, for my neurons to work. New thoughts, right? New pathways. That's what was happening in collective shift. And I found myself that I was more in tune and more able to reflect the slower that the participants were speaking. So the less fluent they were in English, the better it was for me. And it's like in coaching, how pose and silence is important. And it was interesting. It was interesting for me as a learner during that time. I think I went deep also because of that. I was able to have in session reflection, even when people were talking. Because and I was writing a lot. I was writing a lot. Actually, one of our jokes that, oh, by the end you'll write a book and then we'll have a book from Collective Shift. Because I was writing a lot of things. For me, writing helps. So I was writing sometimes on paper, but most of the times, I think module 1 to 7, I was typing all my notes, all my thoughts. That helped me. I think it would if it was talking in fluency, like how I talk, the conversation tends to go faster,
Mm-hmm.
and that would not have served me for that growth stage that I was. But surprisingly, being a mentor, it was different because being a mentor, I was more focused on the transformation, and I was more looking for movement and speed, and somehow I sometimes feel like I'm in the middle of the ocean solo and on a speedboat. That's my mentoring journey. It's interesting really how I was being taken, that time and space was so important beforehand while growing. And then now that I'm being a mentor, it's more about movement and maintaining that transformation. And yeah, that's what I was referring to. Yeah, I do a lot of things my own also, and hence the reference to the being solo in the open ocean on a speedboat, but on a speedboat. It was interesting. It was interesting. I mean, I've worked with people from different other cultures before, so that side was fine. Even as part of Mosaic, I already knew, I was speaking with a lot of Romanians before. Even at my work in the UK, I was working with Romanians before, so that was not a having people from Greek and all that. That was not an issue. I did live in Greece myself. But it was good to know a few more, cultural thing from
Yeah.
Romania, like, oh, we have this food and that food. And in my mentorship path, I actually, because there's no English uh, session, international cohort at the moment, so I've
At the
actually
moment.
attended, yeah, no, there'll be one in September. So I've actually attended a session with Corina and Diana, where obviously I did not understand anything linguistically, but I was observing, and it was interesting. It was more the observation part than. But yeah,
Mm,
it's been fantastic, and also being the first participants, right? First international participants, because there need to be a start for everything. So I think it
mm.
was an experience. It was a learning journey. I know for the academia as well, and it was a learning journey for
For
me as
you.
well. So yeah,
So you actually
it
learned.
just kind of nicely. It fitted nicely.
Yeah. So you actually learned a lot of things, even if you have maybe the language barrier uh in
Oh
this
yeah,
specific context. So
like
this is one one example that that you already mentioned. Um
oh,
Teeroumanee, because we
Yeah.
are at the end of our session for today. I was thinking, and I think it's my last question for today, because you mentioned that it was a transformational journey for you, the program. So you learned a lot of things. You mentor people now. If you look on your professional experience and personal experience, if you have to, I don't know, maybe to add in one sentence or in a few words, what are those things that you took from the program and you apply in what you do nowadays? So
Mm.
if you have your programs,
So,
if you're currently working or planning to do something in the future. So I was just curious here.
so the part that we actually had homework, right? Because it's ICF, CC and all that thing. So we had some
Mm-hmm.
homework as well to do. That's something that I've taken away because I already used to do that with my mentees, but not with my coaching clients. So I kind
Mm-hmm.
of took that away, those homework, obviously not the same question, but more in my practice. That was something that I took away and I incorporated in my own package and things. And also took away the conversations we had around the business canvas.
Mm-hmm.
So how it was, even the intent of proximity all the time, tuning it, fine tuning it, and not just be, like a message that is a copy paste, you just dump it there. Because to different audiences, it's speaking differently to different audiences, and even bond, with intercultural differences or with experience or where the person is, in their growth level. So all these bond dynamics and all that. And one thing that really stayed with me throughout, I think it was module 2 or 3, when I was like, hey, you're a vehicle of unconscious expansion. I had absolutely no clue what that was. But it's something that stayed with me, and that unconscious to conscious expansion and transformation is it was not a short course, nor was it a long course. It was a course structured for people who intentionally wanted to invest in their growth,
Mm-hmm.
particularly with the time and effort in the growth. It was not easy. So, because for me, excellence, that's one of my values as well. So focusing on excellence, that was a program that provided me to excel, to improve and excel. And it's something, I had something roughly like that beforehand. Like, I don't work with every client. I choose my client as well
Mm-hmm.
quite, with care, who I'm working with, where I'm putting my energy. So that's something I've kind of become more confident, I would say, in doing and supplementing what I was already doing. And yeah, so I'm not obviously able to kind of, there are other things, like I'm doing few other things for the academy, but yeah, in terms of methodology, I already created during, when I was a learner, I actually created those nice canvas pictures that I put on my desktop. So all the time reminding me of the core bits and pieces that I took away from every session, every time that
Mm-hmm.
either I was the group's coaching or my peers were doing group coaching, there were things that I was learning. So those personal level uh, and maturity and growth, that I'm taking all of that away. Not none of these are, there's nothing to throw away there.
Mm-hmm.
There's not. It's not like pick and choose. It's take it all. So yeah, that's been a bit my experience.
Yeah, I think we should schedule maybe another another session. Why I'm saying this because we have a lot of things to share from what we learned and how it was the experience during the program and in academy, of course, because I mentioned that we continue learning to learn things. Teeroumanee, I want to say thank you so much for being here today with me and sharing your personal and professional experience from this international background that you have, and where people can find you if they maybe would like to continue the conversation with you after this interview. So yeah, let us
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. I'm quite unique, so if you just put my name, I'm the only one that will show up. Even on Google, if you put my full name, there's only one me, so that's easy, pretty easy. And I also have my website, which is impact dash for dash you, impactforyou.com. And I'm on all the platforms, so within the academy, people know that they can reach me on WhatsApp. And I also write for the academy, so people can interact with me there for that. And even with the academy, so there's a plan to bring some workshops that's coming up later this year. So that will be an opportunity for people to also join, come, do things within the academy and participate in things. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, and let's keep in touch.
Yeah. And thanks for the opportunity to share, my experience. It was something.